The start does matter. The beginning is significant. The first few steps are critical, but they aren't the most important. Do you know what matters more? Do you know what makes the start look silly and easy and almost insignificant? The finish. So this book, Finish, Give Yourself the Gift of Done by Jon Acuff, is hands down one of my favorite books. I read it in 2017 and thought, what better time to read it than the end or the finish of 2018? As we're wrapping up this year and heading into the new year, I thought about all that comes with finishing a year. And then, of course, we all are in different steps and stages of our journeys in different areas of our lives. And so I thought that this would serve as a great bit of encouragement to review, in a sense, this book and share with you some of my favorite points from this book. This book is practical. It has funny elements. He's very transparent in the book. And I mean, it's just a great book. What I read for you was in the intro was page 1. Like, he gets right to it. Like, the start, yes, that's cute. No, those are my words. But the finish, finishing a thing. We put a lot of weight on starting something. Get started. Start where you are. And that's great. You can't finish unless you start. But what about the weight put on the finish of a thing? And so, I mean, this is not a paid endorsement by any means. It's just my love for this book and my opportunity to share some of my favorite principles from this book with you. Now, there's so many nuggets of greatness in this book that just apply to life so practically, but I'm just only going to pick a few to share with you and how it relates to my debt-free journey. So before I do that, I do want to share with you a personal story of mine. I was on my way back from Las Vegas years ago on a plane. I was seated next to a white male with red hair whose name was Martin Fisher. And we struck up a conversation. He mentioned that he was either on a tour of sorts, a travel tour, promoting a new book or attempting to get a book published. And so naturally I asked him what of. He mentioned that it was an empowering book, somewhat of a self-help book. And so he said something to me that I don't think I'll ever forget. And he said to me that when he was growing up, he was poor. He and his mom, I want to say, lived in poverty, and he always wanted to be done with that situation. He knew that when he got older, he would try to be wealthy so he wouldn't have to deal with the stress of financial issues again. And so he said this thing to me that just blew my mind at the time. And even when I think about it now, it's just greatness in a statement. And he said to me, I always wanted to be wealthy, so I went ahead and got that out of the way. He'd always wanted to be wealthy, so he went ahead and got that done, so then he can move on to do other things. So early on in his adulthood, he became wealthy because that was something he always wanted to do, and he went ahead and got it done. And that just blew my mind at the time. I went home, I talked to it about with my mom, my sister, like anybody I could share it with, because I thought that was amazing. Like, what things in our lives are we trying to just go ahead and get done with? Just go ahead and get done with it so you can move on to something else. If you're trying to create a business, if you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to run a 5K, lose weight, if you're trying to become debt-free, go ahead and get that out of the way. You can move on to something else for your life. I mean, that's just amazing to me. And I wanted to share that story with you, but I know that was like a perfect transition for me to talk about this book. Again, it's Finish, Give Yourself the Gift of Done by Jon Acuff. And I think it's a great resource for you to pick up. It's not even 200 pages. It's a really easy read, in my opinion, and it's just excellent. So I'll get into the 3 points that I've taken from this book that I just love and that I can easily apply to not only my debt-free journey, but I think you can apply it to any journey you're on. And so the first one, he deals with perfectionism in this book. And I like that he does that. He does it all throughout the book. And he, in a sense, mentions that, a lot of praise is given to perfectionism, but in a lot of ways, it can actually be a hindrance. Trying to attain perfect can be a negative thing to your goals and pursuing your dreams. Because what is perfection? Like, what is a perfect thing? Like, what is perfect? And when you think about the fact that, when things aren't perfect, what happens? A lot of us quit when things stop being perfect. But are they ever perfect? If it's going to stop you from even pursuing your dream, you need to get rid of that. And so I won't say too much more, but it's wonderful what he talks about regarding perfectionism. It's just great. The second favorite thing from this book that I love is his approach to looking in the past. And so a lot of times we hear the statement that says, I'm looking to the future because that's where I'm going, right? And that's true, but there's value in looking in the past in some cases. And so for me, I realize I've been doing this with my debt snowball updates. And so on my updates, I list out my current balances, the starting debt amount, the amount that I've paid so far. So the amount that I started out with, how much I've paid along this journey so far, even to a percentage, and then what I have left to pay. And so even in doing that, I'm looking back to propel myself forward. And in doing that, it really serves as motivation. I realized at one point I didn't review my debt snowball that way, and sometimes I would get discouraged. But whenever I look at the number that I've already achieved, the number of the amount of debt I've already overcome, it propels me to my future. I get excited about having completed that and knowing that I can do greater and do more and eventually be totally debt free. I think that's awesome. And then the third point is around data. And this one is one of my favorites. He says that data doesn't lie. Emotions lie, but data doesn't. And I work with data every day in my day-to-day work. And so this one speaks to me because it's the truth. Data doesn't lie. And so when my emotions tell me you're not going fast enough, this isn't really working out, like when is this going to be over? The data tells me, look how far you've come. This is the debt you no longer owe. If you stay on this track, you'll be debt free on this day, this month, this year. If you add a little more to your debt snowball every month, that data, all of that data compiles to let you know where you are. And then it also gives you an opportunity to adjust. Maybe I am not going as fast as I should. Maybe I'm not putting as much towards that debt payment as I could. So then that gives me an opportunity to adjust. So when my emotions are telling me, this is just taking forever, like no one will ever want to come to another cupcake business. Like, will I ever be able to run this 5K in the time that I'm trying to? You can adjust your goals, but the data doesn't lie. When your emotions lie to you, the data doesn't. And so, I just think that that's really, really fantastic because you can keep the data around you. I know with me, I have my debt snowball written out. I have it typed out in Excel. I have it on my phone, on an app. Like I keep the data around me to encourage me, to let me know you're doing well. Like even though it seems like you still have this bit of mountain in front of you, you're still doing well. And so use whatever data you have. Use the progress that you have around you. Compare with your last month compared to this month, and just use it to propel you into the future. Don't be afraid of it, but actually use it to sculpt a better business, to sculpt a better journey. It's excellent. So again, those are my 3 favorite points from this book. Again, there's so many nuggets in this book that I couldn't review them all, but I just wanted to share those with you, that you can do this. You know, I always say that, but you can. And some of you are. And you can definitely propel your future to live out your dreams. He mentions in the book a statement that I love. It says, know the unbelievable joy of keeping a promise to yourself. Give yourself the gift of done. It's the holiday season. Give that gift to yourself, the gift of done. See you in the next video. The finish.